Begin today the Gemara on Daf Yud Beis, 6 lines down from the top of the Yamud, where it says Nigmar Dinai V'chulu. It said in the Mishnah that when there is a Gemar Din, there's the rule that this person killed b'sheigeg and he has to be in the Ir Miklot, even if he's an individual like Sar Tzava Yisrael Ki Yoav ben Tzruya. He's a great general like Yoav ben Tzruya and the whole Klal Yisrael needs him. Nevertheless, he doesn't leave the Ir Miklot. So because the Mishnah mentions Yoav ben Tzruya, the Gemara here brings the story about the end of Yoav ben Tzruya. He was a great general, but then later on, he killed 2 people that he wasn't supposed to. And because of this, he was a Ritzeach, he was a murderer. And then later on, David HaMelech, before he passes away, he tells Shlomo HaMelech that Yoav ben Tzruya deserves to die. And Shlomo found a reason to consider him to be a Moired B'Malchus. He rebelled against Shlomo HaMelech's kingdom because he took sides with his brother that Adoniyahu should be a king. And Shlomo sent a shliach to go and kill him, Yoav ben Tzruya. So here the Gemara says what happened. Dr. Gemara, Amar Rav Yudah Amar Rav, Shtei ta Yoav ba'isashah. There were 2 mistakes that Yoav made at that time when he was being chased to be killed. The pasuk says, what did he do? Vayonos Yoav al Oyel Hashem. Yoav runs away to the Oyel Hashem, to the tent of Hashem. Vayechzag bekarnes hamizbeach, and he grabbed onto the corners of the mizbeach, thinking that holding on to the corners of the mizbeach, they can't touch him. He's safe. And this is based on the pasuk where it says that a kohen that does the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, that it says me'im mizbechi tekachenu lamos, you have to take him from the mizbeach to give him the chi of misa. So on this we darshan, but not then he's on the mizbeach. If he's on the mizbeach, then he's safe, can't touch him. So Yoav thought that he's going to hold on to the mizbeach, and there they can't touch him. So his first mistake is she'ena kailat elagagoy. He would only be safe if he was actually on top of the mizbeach. V'hu tafas bekarnosav. He only held on to the corners of the mizbeach. And another mistake, she'ena kailat el mizbeach beis elamin. This halacha that the mizbeach it keeps the kohen there safe and you can't kill him, that's only in the Beis Hamikdash. And Rashi says because it says mizbechi. Mizbechi means that mizbeach that's designated in that specific place in the Beis Hamikdash. V'hu tafas mizbeach shel Shiloi. But Yoav grabbed onto the mizbeach which was still in the Mishkan of Shiloi, and there it doesn't apply. Rashi here actually says that the correct girsa in the Gemara is not Shiloi, because at this time by Shlomo HaMelech, Mishkan Shiloi was not around anymore. Rather, this Rashi says you got this in the Gemara Mizbeach Shel Bama. This is David HaMelech that built a tent, and he had the Arin there and a Mizbeach there, and that's where Yoav went and grabbed onto the Mizbeach. So those were the 2 mistakes that he made. This story we learned also in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, and there's a continuation about this story, and it says there that really Yoav, he would have died anyways, because if he's going to hold on to the Mizbeach, and let's say he's right, they can't take him from the Mizbeach, so he's going to have to remain in the Mizbeach forever. So he's going to die eventually anyways. So what was he gaining? So either he was gaining, he wanted to live as long as he can, or if he's killed by the messenger that Shlomo sent him as being a Moired B'Malchus, what happens is all of his possessions goes to the king. But if he's going to die just holding on to the Mizbeach, not by the messenger of the king killing him, then all of his possessions will be inherited by his children. And that's what he was trying to gain.
What kind of how does he have?
Whatever he had, yeah. Abaya adds to this, Baha Nami Mitato. He actually made a 3rd mistake as well. Because who does it absorb? Who becomes safe on the Mizbeach? Only the Kayin that's doing the Aveda. But for Huzar, he's just a plain Yid, and he's holding on to the Mizbeach. It doesn't accomplish anything. Huzar Haya. Amar Reish Lakish says a similar thing. Shalosh ta'ayos, 3 mistakes. Asid saray shal roimi litais. The ministering angel of Rome will make a mistake when Mashiach comes. And Rashi says this is the Malach that's called the Samach Mem. He's going to run away, and the Eibishter is going to come and slaughter and kill him to the downfall of the Goyim when the Eibishter comes and redeems the Yidden. So what's the mistake? The pasuk says, Mi zeh ba me Edom, chamutz begadim mi Batzra, that Hashem comes kaviyachol with dirty clothing from Batzra, where there he kills the ministering angel of Edom or of Rome. So that means that the Malach, the Samach Mem, he runs away, where? To Batzra. And he thinks that there in Batzra, he's safe. So Taya, his first mistake is...
Batzra is what? Iraq?
It's actually in Iraq.
Yeah.
Batzra, yeah. So his first mistake is She'ene Keletes Elo Betzer. In the Pasuk, where it speaks about the Are Miklot, one of them is called Betzer. Okay, but for Hugailu Batzra, he goes to a different place, similar sounding name, but it's not, it's Batzra. Second mistake, you can only be safe if you killed b'sheigig. But for who mazid haya? This ministering angel of Rome that caused all the problems and persecution of Yidden, it was all done deliberately. And the third mistake, the whole din of Ir Miklot refers to a human being. V'hu malach, and he's a malach by an angel, it doesn't make any difference. V'hu malachu. Amar Rabavo says, Are Miklot lenitnu lekvura. The Are Miklot, which was also the cities of the Levium, the 42 cities that belonged to the Levium were Are Miklot, and all the other cities of the Are Miklot were given to the Levium, but it's not given to them to be buried there. The pasuk says, the open areas outside the city is for the animals there, and for other possessions. What does l'chol chayasam mean? L'chayim nitnu v'loy lekvura. It's an area only for to live, but not to bury. The Levim are not buried there, so they had to have a base of kvaris outside the city. Meisvei, but the Gemara asks on this regarding the Ritzeach b'sheigig that is in the Ir Miklot. The Mishnah before said Shama, that he runs away there. Shanas Shama, Shamtei Dirasai, that's where he lives. Shamtei Misasai until he dies there, and Shamtei Kvurasai, and he's buried there as well. So we see that there is Kvura in the Ir Miklot. Answers the Gemara, that's regarding the Ritzeach. Ritzeach Shani, the Goli Barachmana. By the Ritzeach, the Torah clearly says Shama, that means that he's buried there. But not for the Levium that live in the Ir Miklot, they have to be buried outside, further away from the city. Okay, the Mishnah said, Kisheim She'ir Kailetes, just like the city absorbs and is safe for the Ritzeach B'Sheigig, so too the Tchum of the city is also the border. It says in the Lashon of the Pasuk, Gvul. So from that we learn out that also the border, which means 2,000 tamas around the city, the Tchum, is also a place that is kailet the Ritzeach. In fact, the Gemara Veramino, I'll ask you a stira from what it says in the Braisa. The Pasuk says, V'yoshav ba, that the Ritzeach lives in it, in the city, and the Braisa learns from this, ba, v'loy b'tchuma, has to be in the city, but not in the Tchum, in the 2,000 amas around the city. So how does our Mishnah say that the Tchum is going to be kailet? Amar Abaye, so Abaye answers like kasha. It's not a contradiction. Kan likloit. Over here, the Braisa is speaking about whether it could be kailet or not, and on that, the Mishnah rather. The Mishnah is speaking about whether it's going to be kailet if he's present there. Will he be safe from the Goel Adam that would want to kill him? And the Mishnah says that in the Tchum of the city, it's like part of the city and he's safe there. But Kan Loder, this Braisa that says V'yoshav ba, that he lives in it and not in the Tchum, that's regarding actually living, creating a dwelling there. To set up and build a home there in the Tchum, that the Pasuk says that the V'loy b'tchuma, that he shouldn't live in the Tchum of the city, he has to live inside the city. Frag the Gemara, Lodor, you're saying that this Pasuk V'yoshav ba comes to say that he should not build a home and live in the Tchum of the parameters of the city, but Tepik that you already know, you could learn that from something else, because by the cities of the Levium, which is the Are Miklot, the halacha is as follows: Ein oisin sadeh migrash v'loy migrash sadeh. Now, what this is talking about is, it's actually learned from the Psukim and Parshas Maseh, where it speaks about the cities of the Levium, and there it says in the Pasuk, in one Pasuk it says that you have to keep 1,000 amas around the city, empty, and then it says in another Pasuk that there's 2,000 amas that is kept around the city empty. And from this, the Gemara learns out and says that 1,000 amas is just kept open. Another 1,000 amas is an area where they plant fields and so on. And therefore, we learn out that the area, which is a field, you don't turn into an open area. And v'loy migrash sada, that 1,000 amas that's supposed to be kept as an open area, you can't use that to plant over there as a field. And additionally, loy migrash ir, that area that's supposed to be kept as an open area, you cannot expand the city into that area and build houses there. And v'lo'ir migrash. And inside the city, you don't keep open areas, you build the homes there. It's part of the city. If so, you clearly see here that around the Ir Miklot, that area of the Tchum around, you're not allowed to live over there. So why do we need a special pasuk here to say the Yoshav Ba, that the Ritzeach should not live in that area? Amar Rav Sheisha, so Rav Sheisha says, this pasuk here is coming to teach Lo nitzracha ela lemechilos. If this Ritzeach would want to live in that area, but not above ground in a house, he wants to live in a cave, underground in that area, even that, the pasuk here is coming to say that he has to live inside the city and not in that tchum out around the city, even if it's in a cave and he's not living above, he's not turning the open area into a city, but he's still not allowed to live there. The Ritzeach that leaves the tchum of the Ir Miklat. So the Mishnah brought a machlokes. What happens at this point? So Rabbi Yosef Glili says that for the Goyal Adam, which is a relative that would inherit the one that the victim that got killed, it's a mitzvah to kill the Ritzeach that leaves. For anyone else, it's a reshus. And Bakiva says for the Goyal Adam, it's a reshus, and for anyone else, he's not allowed to kill him. That's according to our gears here in the Mishnah. So the Gemara brings the source of this machlokes. Tanur Rabbanon, you learned in the Braisa. The pasuk says, "V'rotzach Goyal Adam is a Ritzeach." The Goyal Adam, the relative that wants to avenge the blood that was spilled, kills the Ritzeach. Mitzvah biyad Goyal Adam. So from this we learn out that it's a mitzvah for the Goyal Adam to kill the Ritzeach that leaves the Ir Miklot. Ein Goyal Adam, if there is no Goyal Adam, he's not there, he's not around, or he's not interested in killing the Ritzeach, then Rishus biyad Kol Adam. Anyone else is allowed to kill this Ritzeach that left the Ir Miklot. Divrei Rabbi Yosef Glili, this is Rabbi Yosef Glili's opinion. Rabbi Akiva Omer.
Sorry, it's only because he left the
Ir Miklat. That's the simple pshat of the Gemara. We're talking about he was inside and he wasn't allowed to leave and he left. But there's more about this point. In a moment I'll get back to it. Let's just first see the conclusion here. Rabbi Akiva Omer. However, Rabbi Akiva says, Rishus b'yad Goyal Adam. Even the relative, the Goyal Adam, he only has permission to kill him. But v'chol adam, anybody else, chayav and olav. He would be chayiv if he kills this Ritzeach. So at my time with Rabbi Yosef Glili, what's the reason Rabbi Yosef Glili says that it's actually a mitzvah? Because the pasuk that was quoted in the beginning of the Braisa, when it says v'rotzach Goyal Adam, miksiv im rotzach, does it say in the pasuk if the Goyal Adam decides to kill? It doesn't say if. It says v'rotzach. V'rotzach means he will go ahead and kill him, meaning that it's a mitzvah for the Goyal Adam to kill. But Rabbi Akiva says miksev yirtzach. Does it use a clear commanding expression, yirtzach, that he should go ahead and kill him? It uses the term v'rotzach. The term of v'rotzach could just mean that he will kill him. It will happen, meaning that it's just a permission, but not that he's obligated to do this. And so this kind of a term Rashi brings here, that it's similar to the word va'asa. Rashi brings from Chumash, it says va'asa b'tzalel. Va'asa means that he should, sometimes it could mean he should do this. And Rashi brings another pasuk, it says va'asa Hashem lahem. It doesn't mean Hashem should, it means Hashem is going to do, meaning it maybe yeah, maybe not. So here as well, when it says v'rotzach, there's an argument whether it means that he should, it's a mitzvah, or it only means a rishos.
It means he has a potential, he can kill him, but it's not a mitzvah to kill him.
It's not a mitzvah, correct. Okay, so now here in the Gemara, it's discussing this, and in the Mishnah also you see that this is once the Ritzeach was in the Ir Miklat and he left. From the Gemara here it's mashma if the Ritzeach was not yet in the Ir Miklat. He killed someone and he's on his way running to the Ir Miklat. In such a case, the Goyal Adam may not kill him, because this is the Torah gives him the place to run to go to the Ir Miklat, and on his way to the Ir Miklat, the Goyal Adam may not kill him. That's what it would seem like from the Gemara here, from the Mishnah here. But there was a Gemara before, on Daf Yud Aleph, I think it was, or maybe before, where the Gemara there brought, that you have to send to Chachamim with him, and the Gemara there brought from Rav Huna about this, where it's mashma that even on the way to the Ir Miklat, according to some Rishonim, even then, the Goyal Adam has a mitzvah to kill him. The Rebbe speaks about this actually in a Sikha, I mentioned already before there, in Parshas Shoiftim, where this inyan is, and in Chelik Chav Dalet, and there the Rebbe points out that be'emes, the concept here is, this person that killed someone b'shoigig is he spilled blood, there's a level of negligence involved in this, he took away the life of a Yid, there is the mitzvah, or even the reshus of the Goyal Adam, to take the life of this Ritzeach, and that really applies, even according to the Mishnah here, even before he's running to the Ir Miklat. Elamai, on his way running to the Ir Miklot, if we see that this Reitzeach is not stopping, he's not just sitting around, but he's running away to the Ir Miklot, so the Torah gave the Reitzeach that safety that he could run to the Ir Miklot. So as long as he's actually running to the Ir Miklot, the Rebbe's expression in the Sikh is, Ar Yehuda Revi'ah Alav, it's like a lion. The Torah says, wait, give him the chance to run to the Ir Miklot, and then you can't kill him. But if the Reitzeach is just sitting around and not going to the Ir Miklot, then the Goel Adam would be allowed to kill him even before he went to the Ir Miklot. He's not going, he should be going. But then over here it's discussing, once he's in the Ir Miklot, then he just walks out. He's supposed to remain exiled in the Ir Miklot for his kapara. And then he just walks out. Over here it's either a mitzvah or a reshus to kill the Reitzeach. And the term reshus over here doesn't just mean reshus, if you want, yeah, if you want, not. Al pi Torah, once he walks out, it's the right thing to kill this Reitzeach. That's the pshat in this inyan. Okay, the Gemara now brings actually a third opinion about this. Amar Mar Zutra Bar Tuvia, Amar Rav, Reitzeach sheyatza chutz l'tchum, the Reitzeach that leaves outside of the tchum of the Ir Miklat, umatze Goel Adam, and the Goel Adam encounters him, v'hargai, and he kills him, nera golof. The Goel Adam will be killed for killing this Reitzeach. He's not allowed to kill him. Says the Gemara, Kaman, according to whose opinion is this? Loi Rab Yosi Aglili, v'loi Rab Akiva. This is not any of the opinions that we brought before. So who's he basing this on? And says the Gemara, Huda Amar Ki Haitana. He follows a third opinion in the Braise, the Tanya, Rab Eliezer Omer, Ad Ondoi Lifnei Eidol Mishpat. And we have to wait until he's brought in front of a bezdin for judgment. What is this pasuk talking about? Matamad Loimar. What is this pasuk teaching? Lefi Shenema. So the pasuk says, as quoted before, V'ratzach Goel Adam es Ritzeach, that the Goel Adam kills the Ritzeach if you leave the Ir Miklot. So Yachal Miyad. I would think that means as soon as he leaves and he meets him, he can kill him right away. Talmud Loimar. It's on that the pasuk here says, Ad Omdei Lifnei Eidol Mishpat. That he has to wait until the Goel Adam is brought to judgment. And only after Bezin paskins that he has to go back to the Ir Miklat, and he doesn't, then the Goel Adam has a right to kill him. So otherwise, if you just met him before he was brought to the Bezin, the Goel Adam does not have the right to kill him. That was the opinion that Rav was quoting. Now the Gemara says, Rabbi Yosi Aglili and Rabbi Akiva disagree with this. Rabbi Yosi Aglili with Rabbi Akiva, Hi, Ad Omdei Lefnei Eidol Mishpat My Darshibei. This pasuk that was quoted, that Rabbi Eliezer learns out, that you can't just kill him right away. What do they learn from this pasuk? They must be learning something else. Says the Gemara, what they learn from this pasuk is it says in the Braise, Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva said, how do we know that if the Sanhedrin themselves, they saw someone killing someone, that they cannot say, oh, we saw it. We don't need any eidim, we don't need any testimony, we saw it ourselves, and let's just give them the chiv misa. No, they can't. Until they will come to another bezdin and testify about what they saw. Talmud Loimar, so the pasuk here says, till he stands in front of the bezdin for a judgment, which means this bezdin that saw, they can't just give him the chiv misa, and they can't even actually be a bezdin either. Other Eidim will not be able to testify in front of them because they can't see any schus in this. It says the pasuk Vitzilu Eid that they have to have the ability to see a merit for this person. But if they saw with their own eyes, Ein Eid Nasis, they can't be a dayan in this case because they can't see any merit. So therefore, they have to stand in front of another bezdin and testify about what they saw, and then they can give him the chiyuv misa. That's what this pasuk is talking about, according to Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yosi Aglili. Tana Rabbanan, and another brayso we learned, Im Yotzoi Yeitzei HaRitzeach. So the pasuk says that the Ritzeach leaves the Ir Miklat, so it uses this double expression, Yotzoi Yeitzei. What does it teach? It says the Gemara, Ein li ela b'mezid. I would think that only if the Ritzeach left the Ir Miklat deliberately. So then the Goel Adam has a mitzvah or a reshus to kill him. B'sheigeg minayin. How do I know if he left by mistake? How do we know that even then the Goel Adam could kill him? Talmud Loimar, im yotzei yeitzei mekol mokim. That either way, the double lashon says, if he left, then the Goel Adam could kill him. Like the Gemara Badvat Tanya, and another brayso we learned that says the opposite. B'meizid nerak. That if he left b'meizid, then he's killed. But b'sheigeg goyla. But b'sheigeg, then he goes back into the golus. But you're not allowed to kill him. So clearly, this brayso disagrees with this. Says the Gemara, it's taka machloikis, like kashya. It's not a contradiction. It's not a question. Ha, Commander Omar, Amrinan Dibra Torah Koloshim B'nei Yadam. The second brayse we just quoted says that from the double Lashon, Yotza Yetzei, there is nothing to expound on to say that it includes even the Shegig, because the Torah speaks in this kind of terminology, the way people speak. And ha, Commander Omar, Lo Amrinan Dibra Torah Koloshim B'nei Yadam. The first brayse says that no, it's an extra word, Yotza, Yetzei, and it's not just simply the way people speak. And it's coming to teach for both cases, for a mezid and a shegig, that the goyel adam is allowed or a mitzvah to kill him. Now, regarding this case, Amar Abaye says, Mistavra, it's logical to paskin Commander Omar, in this case, like the Manda Omar that says that Dibra Torah Koloshim B'nei Yadam, that the words of the Torah here, Yotze Yetzei, is not expounded separately, but it's just like the way people speak. Because here, when he left B'shegig, it doesn't make sense to say that the goyel adam is allowed to kill him. Shalai Yehei Soifoi, the end, meaning here now, when he leaves the Ir Miklot, should not be more stringent than his halacha in the beginning. Now, matchilasai, in the beginning, b'mezid, nerak. If in the beginning this person killed someone deliberately, so then he's killed. B'sheigig. But if he killed someone b'sheigig, then gaila. His halacha is to go back into galus, or to go into galus. So af soifai, so to here now at the end, once he's in galus and he left, b'mezid nerak. If he left deliberately, so then he's killed by the goyel adam. But b'sheigig, if he only left b'sheigig, just like in the beginning, if he killed someone b'sheigig, he has to go to galus. If he, by mistake, left the Ir Miklot, it's only a sheigig goyla. He just has to go back into the galus. Therefore, it's logical like this brayse, like this opinion. Another halacha the Gemara brings Tani Chada. In one brayse we learned Av Shaharag Benoi, Av Shaharag, that is, a father that killed Benoi Nasaloi Goyel Adam. If a father killed someone, if a father killed a son, then Benoi, another son, he could be the Goyel Adam that would have the mitzvah to kill his father if he leaves the Ir Miklot. But in another brayse we learned, no, Ein Benoi Nasaloi Goyel Adam. The son, which is the brother of the victim that the father killed his son, which is his brother, this son does not become a goyel adam. He's not allowed to kill his father when he leaves the Ir Miklot. Says the Gemara, who are these two opinions in these two brayses? Lamna, shall we say that Rabbi Yosi Aglili, the brayse here that says that the father, the son does not. The first brayse that says that the son does not become a goyel adam for the father. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yosi Aglili. The second brayse that is the second brayse that says that the son does become a goyel adam for the father. That's Rabbi Yosi Aglili that says that it's a mitzvah. So if it's a mitzvah, so then that mitzvah applies even in a case where it's the son that's going to kill his own father. And for Rabbi Kiva, and the first brayse that says that the son cannot be the goyel adam to kill his father is Rabbi Kiva's opinion, because Rabbi Kiva says for the goyel adam to kill the Ritzech, it's only a rishus. So if it's only a rishus, that does not apply by his son and his father. Says the Gemara, is it logical to say that these two brayses is based on these two opinions here? It can't be. Mitzvah. Whether the opinion of Yosi Aglili that says that it's a mitzvah for the goyel adam to kill, or the opinion that says that's a rishus, mi shari. In either case, either opinion, would it be allowed for a son to kill a father, to act as a goyel adam? Rabbi Baravuna said, V'chein tana debei Rabbi Yishmael, and the same was taught by Rabbi Yishmael. Lakoil eina ben nasa shliach la'aviv la'akoisai olakalei. For any matter where something has to be done to punish a father, whether it's to give the father malchus, or whether a klala, which would be some kind of a nidu yacherem, the son is not the one that is the shliach of the bezdin to do this. He's not allowed to do this. There's only one exception, and that is chutz mimesis, only by a case where a son, the father, was convincing others to serve Avodah Zarah. There, even the son could be the one to give the punishment to the father. Sharei Amr Torah, there the pasuk says, "Leisachmal v'loi sachasa olav," don't have any mercy on him and don't cover up for him. So that's the only exception where the son could be the one giving the punishment to the father. But other than that, the son could never be the one that would take such a position to give a punishment to the father. So here, everybody would agree that a son cannot be a goyel adam to kill a father. So Ella, therefore the Gemara says, these two brayses are not arguing. It's two different cases. Like Hashem, there's no contradiction between these two brayses. If it's actually the son of this father then the question would be whether he could be a goyal adam. The answer is he can't. It's his father, he can't. But when it's talking about a grandson, meaning if the son of the victim, which is the grandson of this Reitzeach, he wants to be the Goyal Adam, there, by the grandson, the other Braisa says that he could be a Goyal Adam to avenge for the blood, to kill the grandfather if he leaves from the Ir Miklot. Some of the Paiskim learn out from here, from this Gemara you see that a grandson doesn't have the chiyuv of kavod for a grandfather, or Moira kavod for a grandfather. It only applies by a son, and therefore the Gemara says by a son it can't be that there would be a mitzvah for the son to be a Goyal Adam, but by a grandson it does apply, because there's no chiyuv of a mitzvah of kibbut. But in Shulchan Aruch actually the Ramah paskins that a grandson does have a mitzvah to be mechabet his grandfather. Elamai, it's not on the same level as a son. And therefore, the Gemara is saying that by the grandson, when there's the mitzvah of Goyal Adam, the grandson could be a Goyal Adam for the grandfather. In a case where you have a tree, and the trunk of the tree is inside the tchum of the Ir Miklat, but the branches, are hanging over and they're going outside of the tchum of the Ir Miklat. Or the opposite. The tree is positioned, the trunk of the tree is outside of the tchum of the Ir Miklat, and the branches are hanging into the Ir Miklat. What's the halacha? Hakoil hoylech achar hanayf. Everything, the halacha of the entire tree always follows where the location of the branches are. Now, the simple pshat of the Mishnah, what that would mean is, if the Reitzeach is by the trunk of the tree, and the trunk of the tree is outside of the Ir Miklat, but the branches of this tree are hanging into the Ir Miklat, so even though the trunk is outside, but nevertheless, we follow the status of the branches which are inside, and the Goyal Adam may not kill him there. And the same in the reverse. If the trunk of the tree is inside the Ir Miklat, and the Goyal Adam, and the Reitzeach that is by the trunk of the tree inside, but because the branches are hanging out, we follow the status of the branches that are hanging out, and it's like he's outside, and the Goyal Adam may kill him there. That's a simple pshat of the Mishnah. But the Gemara will actually prove that this simple pshat cannot be the pshat of the Mishnah. Let's see. The Gemara starts with a contradiction from another Mishnah in Masechta Ma'aseh Sheni. Veramini, I'll ask you a contradiction from what it says by Ma'aseh Sheni. So what's the halacha of Ma'aseh Sheni? The Ma'aseh Sheni has to be eaten only in Yerushalayim. And there it says, Ilon shuhu oimed b'soich hapnim, or the other gersa here is that it's bifnim, wait 1 second, bifnim, yeah, that the tree itself, the trunk of the tree is inside Yerushalayim. V'noit l'chutz, and the branches are out of Yerushalayim. Oimid b'chutz, or the opposite, where the trunk of the tree is out of Yerushalayim, v'noit l'fnim, and the branches are hanging into the city of Yerushalayim. So the question is, where could he eat the Ma'aseh Sheni? The keneged achayma o l'fnim kil'fnim, whatever portion of the tree is inside the wall, there in that section of the tree, you're inside the Yerushalayim, you eat the Ma'aseh Sheni there. From the section of the tree which is outside the wall is the outside, and you can't eat over there. So here, in this Mishnah, you clearly see that you don't follow the status of the branches, that no matter where the trunk is, you always go after the branches. No, it doesn't work that way. The tree is, whichever portion of the tree is inside, whatever portion of the tree is outside, that's it. And so that's not what it said in our Mishnah, that you follow the status of the branches. So the Gemara says on this question, it's not a contradiction at all. Meiser ha'ore miklot karamis, you're asking a contradiction from the halacha by Meiser to what we're talking about here regarding a Reitzeach being in the Ir Miklot. There's no comparison. Meiser b'chayme tol rachmana. When it comes to Meiser, there the Torah says that you have to eat it inside the walls of the city. As Rashi brings, it says l'fnei Hashem lekechat echlenu, in front of Hashem, which means inside the wall in the city of Yerushalayim. So therefore, in the tree as well. If it's inside the wall, it's inside. The section of the tree that's outside is outside. That's all. However, ore miklot bedira tal rachmana. By the Ir Miklot, it goes by the dwelling. As Rashi brings, the lashon of the pasuk by Ir Miklat is kibeir miklota yeshev, which means he dwells. So therefore, here, when you look at the tree, what will determine what the status of this tree is? Where is the main place of dwelling in a tree? So benoifai mitarle, in the branch of a tree, it's possible to live there. But beikrai, in the trunk of the tree, lai mitarle, it's not really possible to live there. So therefore, by the Ari Miklot, the status of the tree follows the branches. Whatever the branches are, that becomes the status of the entire tree, as the simple pshat of the Mishnah is. Okay, but the Gemara will not remain with this answer. The Gemara here brings another contradiction. V'rami meiser ha-meiser. There was a contradiction that was asked regarding meiser itself. So before we quoted the Mishnah in Masechta Meiser Sheni, now the Gemara quotes another Mishnah which is in Masechta Meisres. The Tanya, or the other gears here is the Tnan, because this is really a Mishnah in Masechta Meisres. It says, B'Yerushalayim halech achar hanoif. The Mishnah there says that in Yerushalayim you follow the branches of the tree. That determines the status of the tree. Ba'arei miklot, and over here, like in our Mishnah, it says Ba'arei miklot as well. Halech achar hanoif. You follow the status of the branches. So now you can't answer and say that there's a distinction between the halacha by ir miklot and by meiser. Here you have a Mishnah that's talking about meiser sheni, and it clearly says that you follow the status of the branches. And you're not going to just say, well, the section of the tree that's inside is inside, the section of the tree that's outside is outside. So now we have a contradiction regarding meiser itself. Rav Kahana answers to this, lo kashya. There's no contradiction, because ha Rav Yehuda and v'ha Rabbanon. It's a machlokes between Rav Yehuda and the Rabbanon, whether we follow the status of the branches or we go by the section of the tree. What's inside is inside and what's outside is outside. As the Gemara brings, the Tanya, we learned in another brayso about this. So that Rav Yehuda says, and he's speaking about Meiser in Yerushalayim, that b'mayra, what's if you have a cave, and the cave, let's say the entire interior of the cave is inside, it's under the ground in Yerushalayim, but now there's the opening of the cave. So Rabbi Yehuda says, Hailech acher pischa. You follow the opening of the cave. If the opening of the cave is outside Yerushalayim, so the whole cave is considered to be out of Yerushalayim. If the opening of the cave is inside Yerushalayim, so then it's considered to be like inside Yerushalayim. Now, the Elon, regarding a tree, Hailech acher noifai. You follow the status of the branches of the tree, wherever the branches of the tree are. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. So you clearly see that Rabbi Yehuda holds that by Meiser as well, that you follow the status of the branches. And therefore, our Mishnah here, and the Mishnah that the Gemara quoted from Masechta Meisres, that says the same regarding Meiser, is following this opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. But the other Mishnah that the Gemara quoted from Masechta Meiser Sheni, where it says that you just go by the actual section of the tree where it is, and you don't follow the branches, that is the opinion of the Chachamim that disagree with Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rav Kahana's answer. But the Gemara asks on this, how can we apply that to our Mishnah? The Gemara is trying to say that this applies by Ma'aseh Sheni, and this applies in our Mishnah as well regarding the Ir Miklot, that you always follow the status of the branches of the tree. But how could that be true? As the Gemara here asks, I can tell you, when did we hear that Rabbi Yehuda says that you follow the branches? Why would Rabbi Yehuda say such a thing? Why would Rabbi Yehuda say that you have the trunk of the tree in one place and the branches are hanging over in another place, that we always follow the status of the branches? Why? Logically, wouldn't we think the main thing of the tree is the trunk? Why would Rabbi Yehuda say that we're following the branches? So the reason is, Gabi Meiser, he's saying this by Meiser, and he's saying it l'chumra. He's only, even for Meiser, when Rabbi Yehuda says you follow the branches, he was only saying this to be stringent. And that is as follows. What would be the stringency? There could be a stringency in both cases. We have a case where the trunk is outside of Yerushalayim and the branches are inside. And you have the opposite where the trunk is inside and the branches are outside. In both cases, by Meiser, there could be a stringency, as the Gemara spells out. Ikre bachotz, if it's the case where the trunk of the tree is outside, v'noifei bifnem, and the branches are hanging over inside Yerushalayim. So what it's saying is, Ki heichi de benoifai loy matzi parik, just like in the branches which are inside the city of Yerushalayim. Once you bring the Ma'aseh Sheni inside the city of Yerushalayim, it can't be redeemed anymore there. The halacha of redeeming the produce of Ma'aseh Sheni and then you just bring the money to Yerushalayim is only outside of Yerushalayim. Once it's inside Yerushalayim, you don't redeem it there. So here, there's a chumrah that just like the branches are inside and you can't redeem, it's regarding this chumrah that Rabbi Yehuda is saying that the trunk that's outside Yerushalayim will have the same chumrah as the branches that you can't redeem. But he didn't mean to say this l'kula. He wasn't saying, Rabbi Yehuda was not saying that if you buy the trunk outside, that you can eat the Ma'aseh Sheni there. The trunk is outside, you can't. He was only saying this l'chumrah that you can't redeem anymore your Ma'aseh Sheni. And similar also a chumrah in the opposite, Ikrei mibifnim, in a case where the trunk of the tree is inside, but v'noifai mibachutz, the branches are hanging over outside Yerushalayim. So over here the chumrah would be keheichi de b'noifai lematzi achol, since the branches are outside, so you can't eat the Ma'aseh Sheni there by the branches outside. B'loi Padiyah, without redeeming this produce of Ma'aseh Sheni, and then you could eat the fruits there, and then you bring the money inside. So here the stringency is that by the trunk of the tree, which is inside the city, you also can't eat over there without redeeming it. So it's all just l'chumra. So by Ma'aseh Sheni, I can understand why Rabbi Yehuda is saying that you follow the status of the branches of the tree just for the chumra. But elo ga be'ir miklot. But now let's understand how this works when it comes to the ir miklot, the ritzeach that is leaving the city of the ir miklot. And also we have the two cases here, whether the trunk is inside and the branch is outside, or the trunk is outside and the branches are inside. So now, says the Gemara, it would be understood ikroi bachutz, if the trunk of the tree is outside, v'noifai bifnim, and the branches are on the inside. So over here I can understand that you're going to say a chumre, ki heichi de b'noifai loy matzi katalei, just like by the branches which are inside. So over there the Goyal Adam cannot kill him, he's still inside the ir miklot. So we're going to be machber and say, be'ikroi nami loy matzi katalei, that even if the Ritzeach left and he's by the trunk of the tree which is outside, but the Goyal Adam still can't kill him because the trunk of this tree is connected to the branches which are inside, then we're going to be machmer that by the trunk it's like he's still inside and the Goyal Adam can't kill him. So we'll apply the chumra here. That's understood. However, elo, but ikrei bifnim, in a case where the trunk of the tree is inside the ir miklot, v'noifai bachutz, and the branches are hanging over outside. So what are you going to say? Just like in the branches which are outside, there he left, and the Goyal Adam could kill him. So you're going to say that we're going to be lenient and allow the Goyal Adam to kill the Ritzeach, which is by the trunk inside the Ir Miklat? Why would we allow this? The fact is he's standing by the trunk, which is inside the Ir Miklat. There's no source to say that in such a case Rabbi Yehuda would be makel and say that we would allow the Goyal Adam to kill him at the trunk of the tree inside the Ir Miklat. That's the problem the Gemara has here. So the problem comes down to this case where the trunk is inside and the knife is outside. It's not logical to say that we would be makel and allow the Goyal Adam to kill the Ritzeach when he's still inside the Ir Miklat by the trunk just because the branches are hanging outside. Okay, so the Gemara here will stick to the main answer that Rav Kahana said, that our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, but the Gemara will explain that regarding this case, Rabbi Yehuda never said this. Rabbi Yehuda never said that if the trunk is inside and the branches are outside, that the Goyal Adam could kill him there, as the Gemara explains. And there's two pshatim here. Omar Rave, so one pshat is Rave says, or the other girsa here is Rabbe says, if it's a case where the Ritzeach is by the trunk of the tree, and that is when the trunk of the tree is inside the Ir Miklat, the Kula Alma Loi Pligi, there's no argument about this, the Loi Matzi Kotel, that you cannot kill the Ritzeach that's there. He's still inside the Ir Miklat. On the other hand, Kai ben Noifai, in this case where the branches are hanging outside of the Ir Miklat, V'yochel lahorgai b'chitzim u'b'tzreiris, and now the Goyal Adam is there, and he has the ability to kill the Goyal Adam that's in the branches of the tree outside of the Ir Miklat. He can kill him with an arrow or with pebbles. The kula amole pligi the matikotole. There, since he's outside, everybody would agree that he's able to kill him there. What is the machlokes here between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim as it applies to Ir Miklat? Ki pligi, where is there an argument in a case where the Ritzeach is in the branches of the tree that hangs outside the Ir Miklat, and the trunk is inside the city? So now the question is as follows: B'mehevi ikroi darge lenoifai. Can we use the trunk of the tree to be like a step to climb up to get to the branches of the tree? Meaning, if the Goyal Adam he spots the Ritzeach that he left the Ir Miklat and he's hiding in a branch of a tree that's hanging over outside the Ir Miklat, and now he has no arrow, he has no pebbles that he can shoot at him to kill him, but he wants to climb up the tree from the trunk to go up to the branch. Now the shaila is the Goyal Adam allowed to go into the Ir Miklat and use the ikr of the tree as a step to go up to the branch? That's what the machlokes here is. So Mar Sovar have ikroi dargel noifroi. So one opinion over here is that the ikr, the trunk of the tree, is considered to be a step to the knife, and therefore he's allowed to go up on this trunk to go up to the knife and to kill him over there. So this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that we follow the status of the branches. What does it mean we follow the status of the branches? That to use the trunk as a step to go up to the branches, that's allowed. That's what Rabbi Yehuda meant to say in such a kind of a case. Meaning over here, in this case, Rabbi Yehuda, when he says that you follow the status of the branches, he didn't mean to say that if the Reitzeach himself is standing by the trunk, then the Goyal Adam can kill him by the trunk of the tree, even though it's inside Ir Miklat. He didn't say such a thing. The Reitzeach is in the branches of the tree, which is outside of the Ir Miklat. The question is, could the Goyal Adam use the trunk of the tree as a step to go up? And for that, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the trunk is connected to the branches that he can go up. Omar Savar, but Chachamim say, Loi have ikrei dargel noifai. The trunk is not to be used as a step for the knife. The trunk is separate from the knife, and for that, he can't climb up to go to him to kill him over there in the branches. That's the machlokes regarding this case. So according to this pshat of Rava in the Mishnah, when it says in the Mishnah the Lashon that Akayel Hoylech Achar HaKnife, we always follow the status of the branches by the Ir Miklot, it depends what case we're talking about. If it's a case where the branches are hanging into the Ir Miklot, there the pshat is kipshutai, that even if the Reitzeach is standing outside by the trunk, he's still inside, because we follow the status of the branches. But if it's the opposite case, where the trunk is inside and it's hanging out, over there, the pshat of Akayel Hoylech Achar HaKnife only means for this detail here, regarding using the trunk as a step to go up to the branches, that according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Goyal Adam can use it, and according to Chachamim, you cannot. That's one pshat in our Mishnah. Rav Ashi says, My Achar HaKnife, when it says in our Mishnah that you follow the status of the branches, what it means is Af Achar HaKnife. What it's saying is that you will also go after the status of the branches. That's what our Mishnah means to say. Meaning that really the pshat in our Mishnah is, as the Gemara said before, when the Gemara asked the question in the Bishleime, that you don't always follow the status of the branches. It depends what the position of the tree is. If the trunk is outside and the branches are inside, then you follow the status of the branches. Just like the branches are inside, we say that the trunk is also considered to be like inside, and therefore we're machmer, we don't allow the Goyal Adam to kill the person there. There we're going to follow the status of the branches. But if it's the other way around, where the trunk is on the inside and the branches are outside, we're not going to follow the status of the branches to say that the trunk is like outside, to be lenient and allow the Goyal Adam to kill him. So when it says in the Mishnah that you go Achar HaKnife, you don't really go always Achar HaKnife. It just depends. Sometimes you go after the branches, sometimes you go after the trunk. Depends what's the chumrah. Depends what is inside of the Ir Miklat. That's Rav Ashi's pshat in the Mishnah. So Rashi here and Taisvis explain, so then why would the Mishnah simply say that Hakayel Hoylech Achar HaKnife, that you follow the branches, if the pshat is that Af Achar HaKnife, that sometimes you go after the branches, but you also go after the trunk. It depends what's inside and what's outside. So why is the Mishnah saying this lashon of Achar HaKnife? So Rashi explains the reason why the Mishnah is using this expression is because logically and usually you would think that if I have a tree, what's the main part of the tree? The branches or the trunk? The trunk is the main part of the tree. So on other halachas, we follow after the trunk of the tree. The fact that over here we're machmer in one case to follow after the branches, in a case where the branches are inside the Ir Miklat, that's the chiddush of this case. And therefore, the Tana is using this lashon of Hoylech Achar HaKnife to tell me the chiddush that in such a case, when the branches are hanging inside the city, the trunk gets the chumrah like the inside of the city, that the Goyal Adam may not kill him. That's why it uses in the Mishnah the lashon of Achar HaKnife, but really it means Af Achar HaKnife. That it would be the other way around. When the trunk is on the inside, then you follow the status of the trunk, that it's considered to be inside the city. Okay, let's do one more Mishnah in the Gemara here. Zok the Heilige Mishnah, Harag ba'isa ha'ir. If the Ritzeach is inside the Ir Miklat, and he killed someone inside the Ir Miklat, b'shaygig. So in such a case, Goyle mishchona l'shchona, he also has to go to Galus, but he's already in the Ir Miklat, he has to go from one neighborhood to another. Uben Levi, Goyle mi'ir li'ir. A Ben Levi that lives in the Ir Miklat. So he goes to Galus from one city, from one Ir Miklat, he has to run to another city, to a different Ir Miklat. Tana Rabbanon, so on the Braise, we learned, it says in the Pasuk, V'samti l'cha makim v'geimer, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I will make for you a place for one that kills b'shegeg to run there. So this pasuk is Hashem is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu and telling him, "V'samti l'cha b'chayecha." I will place this for you in your lifetime. Meaning, in this pasuk, it's where Hashem promises Moshe Rabbeinu, you will get the opportunity to fulfill this mitzvah to separate the Ir Miklat. And that's what happened, as we learned before in the Gemara. The 3 Ari Miklat of Ever Ayarden, Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that separated them. Then when it says in the pasuk Makom, it's going to be a place. Which place is this? Mim Kaimcha, or the Bach says Bim Kaimcha. It's in your place. And Ashayon Shama, that's where the Ritzeach has to run to. What does this mean? Melame, this pasuk teaches us Shah Yisrael Maglim Bamidbar, that even in the Midbar, Ritzeach B'Shegig also had to be exiled. And where was this? Lahechan Maglin Lamachna Leviyah. The Ir Miklat, there was no city, so they were in the Midbar. So where was the place where the Ritzeach had to run? Into the camp where the Leviim and Moshe Rabbeinu were living. That was the place for the Ritzeach to be in. Now, Mikan Amru is from here that we learn out Ben Levi Shaharag, a Levi that lives in the Ir Miklat, and he kills someone. So Gaile Miplach Leplach. He has to go to Golus from one place, from one city, and he has to run to Ir Miklat to another city. Now the Braisa adds, "V'im gala lepilchai, pilchai keltai." If he wants to remain in his own city and he just wants to run to another neighborhood in the very same city that he lives in, that will also be okay. It'll be kailatim there. Now, Omar Ravacha Bereder Ravike says, "Ma'ikra." What's the pasuk that teaches that even in the same city, a ritzeach could go to Ir Miklat, just changing from one neighbor to another? That would be enough. What's the source of this? Because it says, "Kibi'ir miklata yeshev." He should sit in his Ir Miklat. So it refers to the Ritzeach. It says it's his Ir Miklat and he sits there. That means Ir shakoltase kvar. Even if he was already there from before in this Ir Miklat, whether he's a Levi or he's a Ritzeach that already killed someone b'shayig and he's there from before, that the Ir Miklat will be kailat him there and he can run from one neighbor to another, and that's good enough. Taisus here points out that the Levi has 2 options, right? The Levi could either run to a different Ir Miklat, or he could stay in his own city but run from one neighbor to another. What's a better option for him? If he runs to a different Ir Miklat, he has the right then to be in the entire city of that Ir Miklat. But if he's going to run from one neighbor to another in this city that he's living in now, then he's going to be stuck in that neighborhood. He has to remain dafka in that neighborhood. That's the difference between these 2 options.
Sure.